or the co-authors, how did you measure the role of governance in this research? Because when I hear about governance, they say good governance. I don't know whether it is bad or wrong or slightly good. How did you categorize governance and classify or characterize the governance as being good as far as your research was concerned? And if you measured the governance, maybe the way other people have measured that governance, how do you feel about such kind of measuring governance characteristics and classify it as good or bad? Thank you. Explain a bit so that we are able to judge whether we are well governed or not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Nirajire, for a good question. Uh, in our study, actually, we used two types of model. So the first model that we used, uh, it is we were checking the direct effect model. And the second one, it was the moderation, which is for the dependent variables, we measured the trade exposure. Here we took some variables such as export likelihood or import smoothing. But for the independent variables, we also took the green innovation adoption. But for the part of the governance, we 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 use an interaction term, where here we took the governance index to evaluate the governance moderating role. Uh, the way we did it, we took a sample of over 10,000 farms across 103 countries. The governance index, which is normally, according to the World Bank, we measure it from negative 2.5 to 2.5. But here the average 6 WGI indicators, here we use negative 1.8 to 1.8.
Uh, Thank you. So on the facts how we measured governance, so normally the World Bank publish the governance indicators. So there are six. Those related to corruption, regulatory framework, um, government efficiency, and the others. So country-wise, they vary between negative 2.5 and the plus 2.5. So below 0 to negative 2.5, they classify them as bad governance. So from 0 to plus 2.2, they classify them as good governance. And we use those six indicator to have a kind of a composite index. So then use such kind of composite index in our model. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you were able to catch 20%, 60% of how Okay, this is your assignment. You go and read further so that you are able to see which indicators, how they put them together, so that they come up with a number from all those things that will help you to classify a governance as being a good, moderately good, whatever, and then bad. Now I have learned a lot. This is the first time I was explained how to measure governance. Um, uh, there is a question here, and then we move to the next. The time is run.
Thank you. It's an interesting topic, especially from the aspect of green innovation, because it's one of the trending things in the international trade. So my question tackles specifically on green innovation. So from we know the green innovation can be in different aspects. So I would like to ask if we talk about green innovation impact on exposure to international trade. So what particular aspect did you find to have more impact? Is it from the green energy? Is it from green supply chain? So I'd like to understand which part of green innovations that you did find to have more impact on the farm in that part. Thank you.
Super question. I hand over to the presenter.
Thank you so much for such great question. In our discussion here, or in our paper, we checked the green innovation. The variables that we tackled, they are not like the green technologies. Here we're measuring how the governance, the effect of green innovation can affect the farm's performance, but we mainly with focusing on the governance, how the governance can help the the innovators to reach to their goals, or by just helping them, or especially here we're monitoring the CO2 emission reductions and climate, but those are not only the adoption, the innovation adoptions, but here we have the smart agriculture and so on. Those, there are other things that we can tackle on if you want to do that. But our specific here, we were checking the role of the governance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you much, the audience. We would like to clap for our presenter, and we call upon the next presenter. Thank you, the discussant, for having raised our level of inquiry on the paper, so that we get really hungry of knowing what is really inside there. Thank you so much. You can gain your seats. I would like to call the next presenter. The paper whose authors are Dr. Aristide Maniriho, with the co-authors who are Mr. Kaisire Pascal and Professor Jonas Barayandema. So one of them would be ready to present. Is there any of these three around? Aristide, I can't see him. Pascal is not around, and Jonas is not. And therefore, the presentation is postponed to an unknown time. On this note, I would want to ask our technician if you can find our presenter online. Is called Idrissa Wedraogo to present the paper titled Effects of Digital Trade on Health Inequality in Africa. Please check whether the presenter might be online, and he will be the last presenter for today. So the next presenter is absent. Then the last one has not yet joined our session, but he presented his first paper in track 3 this afternoon. We are going to request people on this side whether he's still on their room, online room, and they can transfer him to this one. If he's not yet there, we shall close. So you will allow me some 10 minutes to do such kind of arrangement. Thank you.
And then because the case study is not well matching with the topic, so I think you need to see how to reformulate the topic. So now let me go again to the abstract. When I see the abstract, I see that the information of the abstract are not well organized. There is why I have seen that you presented the study findings before you presented the methodology. So I think you need to follow the structure of the abstract when presenting it. And also I don't and I see that also I don't know how if there was no word accounts for the abstract, but I see that it is like big for the abstract. Normally the abstract depends on the requirement of the paper or the journal, but I think it is between 150 to 200 words. So then try to see how you can summarize, because for example, if I saw to put in the research aim objective, so there are some words which are not needed to be put in the abstract. Now the comment, let me start by the introduction. So in the introduction, you are like, the introduction is somehow, it has so many words, and also the key, as the topic is, we are discussing the enabler and the barrier affecting women entrepreneurs involved in exporting avocado. When I read the introduction, I see that there is so many information about the enabler and the barrier, jumping between the global, regional, and the national context, but they are somehow mixed. The ideas are mixed. So then I think you have to see how you can also reorganize, and also follow the hierarchy from the global to the country. And also your introduction mixes general statement about women entrepreneurs with very specific examples and the initiatives. So then a more structured approach would start with the global context, narrow down to the regional and the local case.
Can the presenter Idrissa Ouedraogo join track 2 to make his presentation? We see that he has remained in track 3. Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I have been trying to join you, but unsuccessfully. So how can we help? Hello?
Hello.
Okay, so now let us continue. Then I was saying that there is a need to restructure your introduction, and then you start by the global, narrow down to the regional and the national case, and then highlight the
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Manji.
Idrissa is there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Is he here now? Hello, Idrissa, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Thank you so much. We are in a parallel session.
Okay.
Track 2, titled for the theme Digital Trade and Environment. And we see that you have a presentation titled Effects of Digital Trade on Health Inequality in Africa. So please If you are ready, you can start your presentation, and you will bear with us because of the time we planned might have passed because of some technical issues that you have been in track 3 and remained there. So, but we can still have your presentation. Please, if you have your presentation ready, you can make it. Thank you.
Okay, excuse me. The paper on the digital trade was not available, so I suggested to present a paper on trade and income inequality in Africa. So let me show you the, the presentation.
Is it not the one you presented this afternoon?
No, the one I presented this afternoon was on trade, or was on trade and women unemployment.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Now we can see your presentation, and please kindly go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I have been trying to join track 2, but it was not successful, so I've been reconnecting. So this paper is on trade, the trade openness and inequality and income inequality in sub-Saharan Africa. So in this paper, we try to examine the direct and indirect effects. So so in the last 2 decades, the distribution of income between people is still a key issue in economics, given the inequality in income that can happen. And income inequality refers to the unequal distribution of income among individuals or group of individuals within the society. And according to Lucas Sansel and his co-authors, the richest 10% holds the 15% of wealth in the world. So, meaning that inequality is very high in the world. And in Africa also, as we will see, the level of inequality is very high. Even though it's decreasing, but when you look at the Gini index, it's average around 55 over a level of 100, meaning that income inequality is still high in Africa. So in this paper, we try to examine the effects of trades openness on income inequality, because trade openness can be a means of reducing income inequality in developing countries. For example, it can limit the rent-seeking behavior that thrives under protectionist regime, and also it can generate externalities while facilitating the adoption of new ideas and also innovation. So yes, the empirical studies showed mixed results, and in the theoretical literature, the Excel-Olin dimensional model predicts that developing countries will experience egalitarian trade trade trends because of trade openness. So we test these predictions and try to identify transmission channel through which trade can reduce income inequality in Africa. So our research question is, what are the direct and indirect effects of trade openness on income inequality in Africa? And the research objective is to analyze the direct and indirect effects of trade openness on income inequality in sub-Saharan Africa. So, how we model the transmission channel. So, trade openness can affect directly income inequality or indirectly income inequality through three channels. For example, institutional quality, human capital, and GDP per capita. So we use annual data of 39 countries in Southern Africa over the period 2002 and 2022. And our main dependent variable is the Gini index. And we use trade openness, which is measured by the sum of exports in goods and services and imports in goods and services over GDP. And we also disaggregate using export and import separately. So we use also the two-table square and the DMMC system for the estimation. Our data are from World Development Bank and also the WEED for income inequality and the curve for some measures on export and imports that we have used. So from this figure, you can see that income inequality is decreasing in Africa over the period of study, but it still remains high, around 55%. Okay. When you look at trade openness decreases during crisis periods. For example, in 2008 crisis, we've seen that trade openness has decreased, and also during COVID-19 period, we see that trade has also decreased, but trade has increased after the COVID. So when you look at the scatter plot, we see that there is a positive correlation between trade openness and income inequality. However, correlation is not causation, causality. So we use econometric analysis to uncover the direct effect and indirect effect of trade openness on income inequality. So our estimations show that trade openness reduces income inequality in Africa, both with the two-table square and the ZMM system. And so how do we explain this? An increase in trade openness in Southern Africa is associated with a reduction in income inequality, meaning that trade openness allow African countries to better integrate into the global economy and access larger markets, which can stimulate demand for their products and create employment opportunities, particularly in sectors where they have a comparative advantage. And it can also promote growth in labor-intensive sectors such as agriculture and light manufacturing, and therefore increase the demand for low-skilled labor increases, leading to a rise in its price. So our result is consistent with the prediction of the Excel-Olin-Samuelson theorem that trade openness tend to favor low-skilled workers in developing countries and therefore reduce income inequality. So, So regarding the transmission channel, we estimate the effect of trade openness on each channel, respectively institutional quality, human capital, and GDP per capita. We see that trade openness increases improve institutional quality. It also improves human capital development and foster GDP per capita. So, meaning that those variables are transmission channel through which trade openness operate to reduce income inequality in sub-Saharan African countries. So, yeah, the GDP per capita has a channel. Trade openness can promote economies of scales and encourage productive investment, therefore contributing to economic growth. Human capital has a channel. Trade openness can increase the level of human capital by promoting access to technology, encourage investment in new technology, and also create incentives to improve workforce skills and health. So, and therefore, people who are educated can benefit from trade openness. And also, since African countries we have light manufacturing and also agriculture, where we employ low-skilled workers, those people can also benefit from trade openness. Regarding institutional quality, trade openness leads to an increase in institutional quality by integrating, for example, countries into international markets. Countries has an incentive to strengthen their institution to attract FDI and to improve the trust of the trading partners, which can ultimately promote transparency, respect for property rights, and also political stability. And institutional competition and the requirements of trade agreements also push government to adopt institutional reforms aimed at reducing corruption, improving governance, and ensuring a predictable and efficient economic environment. So, trade openness directly reduce income inequality and indirectly through improvement of institutional quality, development of human capital, and also increases of economic development measured by GDP per capita. In conclusion, this research analyzed the effects of trade openness on income inequality in 39 sub-Saharan African countries over the period 2002 and 2022. And we use the 2000 square and the DNM system. The results show that trade openness reduces income inequality in South Africa. And when we disaggregate, we see that both exports and imports reduce income inequality, with the reduction effect of export more important than that of imports. And you also see that trade openness reduces income inequality through institutional quality, human capital, and economic development. So, as policy implications, African governments should intensify their efforts to integrate the economies into global trade and improve access for local products to foreign markets, particularly in highly unequal countries. They should prioritize proactive trade openness to amplify this negative effect of trade openness on inequality. Exports, particularly in labor-intensive or locally based sectors, generates direct income for poor population. So policymakers can strengthen exports in those labor-intensive sectors. So they should also strengthen institutional quality, particularly corruption, property rights, and also develop human capital and support development to maximize the effect of trade openness on income inequality. So thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you much, Professor Idrissa, for your good presentation. I am happy that we waited for you to have a very good presentation. And the topic is really important, especially when it comes to discussing income inequality in Africa. In some of our communities, countries, we have observed really income inequality. Maybe I could capture that trade openness is negatively associated with income inequality, meaning that when we open trade, the inequality can reduce. Here we are with Dr. Etienne Ndemezo, who wants to make comments on your presentation. Afterwards, we shall check whether the audience would have the questions to ask before we close today's session. I hope you will remain on the line so that you hear what we are saying. Dr. Ndemezo, you are welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, the presenter, for a good presentation, an innovative paper which investigate the effect of trade openness on income inequality in sub-Saharan Africa. In the title, I saw also you would investigate the channel mechanism of this effect. But before I go there, I would like to talk about the methodology, even if I haven't enough detail about what you did. You say you used two-stage least square regression method and GMM techniques. For me, they can do something good if you have good data. Good data meaning representative sample, representative data which capture the phenomena, and so on. But because I haven't enough detail about this, what I know, it is what you presented only. But from my question, you will give us enough insight about this. My comment about this is the period you investigated, 2002 until 2022, which means historical data for 22 years for 39 countries. This is good, but if the sample was enough large, I think it would be produce enough results and more acceptable. I would like that you convince us about the representativity of this sample in your study. Another question, it is about trade openness effect. If you see in your regression table, even if the coefficient is statistically significant, but the coefficient is very small, which means trade openness, even if it can produce positive effect to reduce inequality, but it remains limited, which means policy to reduce inequality through trade openness will not produce good results about public policy. Another issue is what you call channels of this policy. You talked about institution, can transit by institutions. Let me see. Institutions, and you can recall me, I didn't write all. But for me,
Yeah, institution,
yes,
institution, human capital, and GDP per capita has a measure of development.
yes. I will focus on human capital. When you see the table, the channel should be the interaction between the trade openness and this variable, or a kind of moderation. Econometrically, moderation for me can be if you proceed by regression by scale or by step. You introduce a variable, and after this we introduce another to see its effect on the previous element. What we from your table, it is not visible. You will also help us to understand what you call channels. For me, according to the table, there are other control variables which influence the income inequality, and this can be justified even theoretically. Human capital. If a country with developed human capital will get more equally distributed income, because human capital, for example, if it is at a household level, the development in the country means every household or each household has an element among human capital development, which means the distribution will be more equitable. So for me, I prefer that you say they are control variables and not channels of this reduction. If not, you will show us how you call them channels. For me, they are control variables. About your findings, the main element, the main variable was trade openness. And as a recommendation, you say countries in sub-Saharan Africa should invest more in policies which promote trade openness. But as I say, trade openness, even if it is positive, its effect is positive, the coefficient remains very small, which means for me a good recommendation would be a policy which can help to increase this coefficient. Which policy now to increase this coefficient? This is my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ndemezo, for the reflection on the paper and the presentation. And I would like to ask if Idrissa have some reaction on your comments before we receive some questions. Idrissa, if you are still online and you have a reaction to make on the comments made by Dr. Ndemezo, please go ahead.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much for the comments, which are really interesting and helpful. So regarding the sample size and the period of study is justified by the data availability over this period. And I would like to indicate that our panel is unbalanced, because it is very hard to have data on income inequality over a long period in Africa. There are countries which have very few data, so we decided to consider those who which only have data over this period. And also we have 39 countries in Southern Africa instead of 48 countries, because there were countries where we only had one observation or two observations. So we decided to eliminate those countries and keep those who which had at least data over this period. So it's due to the constraints linked to data. Institution, human capital, and GDP per capita has control variables, but not channels. Okay, and you suggested that we should have interacted on trade openness with those variables. Yes, there are different methods in the literature, by interacting the variable, those variables with trade openness, some would call it moderating effects, or simply interactive effects, not indirect effect or mediating effect. So I think there's some concept, and we prefer to use mediating effect, indirect effect, or transmission channels, rather than interactive effect or conditional effects. Or I think we based on the literature to choose the concept of channels. So regarding this, so but yes, it could be interesting also to interact them, and we think we can also do the interaction to see how those coefficients would change. Yeah. So thank you for these comments. And the other comments I did not get to it very well. Maybe the magnitude of the coefficient were small. So regarding this, maybe I don't know how I would say about this, but maybe we should reduce the number of control variables. Maybe this could increase the size of the coefficients, or use alternative measures of trade openness to see whether the magnitude will change or not. And this could also be considered as robustness checks. So I don't know whether I've answered all the questions. Remind me if I forget some. Thank you.
Thank you much for your reactions, and I think they are useful to us and to the audience, and I think you will also relook at, look again to comments to see whether as they mature, they can also be informative on how the text can be written to convince the reader that the results of your study can be considered valid and relevant for policy and decision making to see whether the lives of people in sub-Saharan Africa can be assisted through trade openness. If Dr. Ndemezo doesn't have any further comment or question, I will turn to the audience to see whether the audience might be having questions. Dennis, do you have any further comment?
No question.
As the discussant does not have any further question to ask, I see the attrition in our audience, but I think we can't miss one to ask a question to see whether we can assist the presenter to improve on the writing of the paper. Please, the audience, anyone has a question? Okay, I see that, okay, we have one.
Thank you so much, the presenter. I would just like to ask the question to Idrissa or Draugo. The choice of the econometric model that he used. He stated that he used the two-state least square model. How effective was it compared to other existing models?
Okay, thank you for the question. If I got it well, is that did you compare the model used to the other existing models to see how the model used is the best among the existing ones? Is it? Okay, thank you. If Idrissa, you are still on the line and you want to react on that, please go ahead.
So thank you for this question. I would like to say that we use two-stage square and we use GMM system because and GMM system is our main estimation method, okay? Because it captures dynamic effects of inequality, inequality past inequalities, or let's say current inequalities are affected by past inequality. For example, if you take the case of South Africa, you see the apartheid, the inequality caused by apartheid is still existing. And inequality hardly changed over time due to political economy institutions. So that's why, yes, we use the two-stage square to compare, to make a comparison between the GMM and this method. And we preferred the GMM because it captures historical dynamics of income inequality in African countries. So that's what I can say. We compared the two. And the GMM is more appropriate because we had the sample size which is 39 countries, is higher than the time period, and this allow us to use these methods instead of using the GMM, instead of the two-state square, which is an instrumental variable, but unfortunately does not capture the dynamic effect over time. I don't know whether you are getting me or not. This is the answer I can provide.
Okay, thank you so much. We got the point. And on this note, I would like to end the discussion on your paper at this time. And it is also at this paper that we close today's session. And we thank you all for your participation. And we invite you again to join our sessions of tomorrow, which we expect they will end early in the afternoon. Say by 2, we will be closing our conference. Thank you so much, all of you, and I wish you a great evening. Bye.
Thank you very much.